So should our players show solidarity with Iranian women, or should they focus on the game a bit later on? We're joined by Elika Ashuri. She's, of course, the daughter of Anousheh Ashuri, who endured 5 years in Tehran's notorious Evin prison, and football journalist Alison Bender, who says, no, the team should just be focusing on the match. That's what they're there to do. We'll come to you in a second. Morning to you, with a lot shorter hair than you're accustomed to, because you tell us what you did live on television just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, at the very beginning of the protest, I joined the movement to cut my hair in solidarity with the Iranian women and a long line of actresses and activists who did so.
And here's you doing exactly that on Lorraine,
yes,
wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yes. And that was also a symbol to cut ties with Iran as Western governments to not validate the regime, a terrorist regime.
So what do you think about the suggestion that rather than taking the knee, bending the knee this afternoon, the England players should, every time a goal has been scored or something dramatic happens on the pitch, they should make the hair-cutting gesture to show solidarity with women back in the land of the players that they're playing?
Yeah, I mean, because football is such a big sport in Iran, and these players are role models to very young children. You know, people idolise these footballers. When we were kids, we would idolise British footballers as well. And at the moment when the people's internet access in Iran has been cut off, when they're being silenced, when they're being shot, you know, children as young as 10, seeing solidarity from a team that they do idolise means a lot, and it highlights the problems that they can't voice out of the country. So I think having that platform and not using it is such a shame.
Ehsan Haj Safi, is the captain of the team, said we have to accept that the conditions in our country are not right and our people are not happy. How brave is it for somebody to make that statement?
It's very brave. There have been very brave acts by athletes in Iran who have faced repercussions. We had Nazra Kabi, the climber who took off her hijab and climbed in a competition in South Korea. We've had a female basketball team 2 days ago who all removed their headscarves in solidarity with the women of Iran, and as we've seen with the actresses. And so,
and what have been the consequences for those athletes?
They get arrested and jailed, or they're told to make statements to say that it was a malfunction or that it was they were misguided.
Well, you say arrested or jailed. Of course, in Iran, we know, because this is part of the reason for these growing protests, if you're arrested, there's a very good chance you might never come out again because you're beaten up and killed.
That's what happened to 22-year-old Mahsa Amini.
Yes, and not only that.
Who was beaten up and killed by the morality police.
Yeah, you have the morality police who are basically thugs that are employed by the government to beat, torture and kill. But also on a legal side of things, the 16,000 protesters that have been arrested to date, 5 or 6 of them have been convicted and have death sentences imposed on them. And there was a parliamentary vote in Iran to encourage death sentences as punishment for these protests. So there are 16,000 people waiting.
Do you think that this game should go ahead? Do you think Iran should have been accepted into the World Cup? I mean, Russia is banned. Apart from this protest, Iran is supplying weapons to Russia to fight the war against Ukraine. As an Iranian through heritage, do you think this game should even be happening? England playing Iran?
It shouldn't, but it is, and we're not naive to the financial implications that go on to, you know, it's a corporation, it's a business at the end of the day, and it's happened. But as there have been support shown by England, by the world, to the Ukrainian people, the same support, same solidarity has to be extended to the Iranian people.
All right. Well, let's come to you. You're on a difficult wicket here to bat on, but you've agreed to come and do it, because you are speaking for a large body of opinion in this country. I don't know if it's the majority or the minority, but it's significant, that basically sport is outside politics, full stop. And despite everything you've just heard, you still don't think that the England players should make any kind of political gesture to criticise the Iranian regime today?
Well, that is a very harsh statement, and I wouldn't say I'm quite as one-sided as that.
All right.
Because it's a very difficult... I'm incredibly conflicted. This whole World Cup takes place on a backdrop of human suffering. And it's really interesting to listen to Elika right now. And of course, you have very good reason to want the England players to protest. What I will say, and I think it's really important, is these players, have they been given the education, the backing and the support to make a protest? It's all very well us sitting here and saying they have a platform, they should use it. But if Harry Kane, for example, scores a goal, you know, he's about to overtake Wayne Rooney, so this is a goal that will be replayed and replayed over time. And so it's a very, very big goal and could make a great statement. But he's in Qatar and he doesn't know the repercussions of any kind of protest that he decides to do. We've just found out that by wearing the One Love armband, he'll probably be fined, booked. And this is a World Cup that the players are trying to win. And the other thing that's worth pointing out is these players are living in a bubble. Yes, we're here discussing and we're very educated on it because we have to be. Gareth Southgate has told the players, I want you to focus on the football. I would love for you to make a protest if you feel that you can. But at the same time, they're probably in their rooms playing PlayStation and trying to get their head on the game. So it's very difficult for us to sit here and say, use your platform. Are we giving them the support that they need to do that, though? It's such a debate. What I will say just quickly is that football and politics are becoming more and more entwined as time goes on. I think when Zelensky made that huge statement, that felt like a real watershed moment of the fact that we used to say, stick to the football. But now I think football and politics are
well, they're clearly intertwined because Russia's not allowed to take part.
Yeah.
I mean, and Qatar wants to hold the World Cup because it wants to improve its standing within the world, and it's using the Football World Cup to do that.
Poland actually did make a very strong stance saying that they wouldn't play Russia and putting the pressure on FIFA because perhaps if we turned away from it, if they buried their heads, maybe Russia would still be in the World Cup. I think that you do have to make very small statements for change to happen. And I actually like this. I mean, I like the fact that I'm more educated on this. I have to say I didn't know some of the things. I didn't know that women couldn't attend the football games in Iran. I learnt about, obviously, the basketball team removing their hijabs.
There's a lot women can't do in Iran.
Yeah,
look, as a football journalist, though, if you were to be watching the games, you will be, in a few hours' time, and there's a goal scored, let's say it's Kane's goal, and the players do make the snipping hair gesture, would you applaud them?
I would be very impressed, actually, and I would think that Gareth Southgate is an excellent manager. He's had to deal with a lot of politics, and he said all along the way, I don't really want to do this. I'm not educated in this department. It's not my realm. But I think that if they do something like that, it shows that they've been told. I mean, for example, if I was there, I was reading about, they were saying they would love someone to blow a whistle at the beginning of each game. So I was thinking, would I do that? I wouldn't do it on my own. What I would do is I would speak to my fellow journalists. I would say, should we all do this together? Can we get the backing of the FA? Can we speak to FIFA and tell them that we're doing this? And I think you have to be incredibly brave to make a bold statement on your own and face the repercussions. And I wouldn't be willing to do that personally. No. And I take my hat off to anyone who would.
OK, before we go back to Elika, I just want to show you the British-Iranian comedian Omid Jalili's call to the England team this afternoon when they play at 1 o'clock.
Of like hair, snip. That sends a huge message to the women and girls of Iran. Sign, scrunch, snip. Do the sign sends a huge message to the women and girls of Iran. Sign, scrunch, snip. Do the sign.
Elika, how would it make you feel if you saw that happen?
I think at the end of the day, the thing that makes a game a sport is the level of sportsmanship. And what is sportsmanship is the ability of the player to empathise with their opponent and to acknowledge their pain and suffering. Otherwise, they're just players, not sportsmen. And what's better for a global event like this one that's bringing all the people together. And the purpose of a global event is to show that despite race, colour, status, we all come together to cheer in the same language and to feel loss in the same language. So what better way to show that?
OK.
And very, very briefly, just in a couple of sentences, I mentioned in the introduction to you that you're the daughter of Anousheh Ashouri, who was 5 years in the prison in Iran.
Released at the same time as Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, of course.
So how is your parent doing now?
They're very well. They obviously continued campaigning with me for the freedom of everyone in Iran, as my father still has friends that are left in Evin prison. He's made new friends there, and this is not just a fight for us, it's just an extension. So we're happy that he's here as a tool to further the campaign.
On you go. It doesn't stop.
Free all the Iranians.
Cool.
It's good
Thank
to
you very
talk
much
to you
indeed.
this
Thank you
morning.
both.
Thank you both very much indeed.